plus gems, you could create many different options, and maybe it's still fine. Like plus gems is one way, or there's this way, or there's this way, and that way it's like, yeah, sure, there's more opportunities. But yeah, right now it's just either good or bad, very binary. And
it is quite hard to think of more multiplicative ways to improve spell damage, though. Like that was a real challenge when we were even looking into that.
It's weird to me that like added damage on a caster gear isn't doing that more. Like maybe it's because like so much of that's already available in the game through other means or something. I don't know, like because that is effectively added flat damage in the same way that plus gems is.
Added flat damage on caster gear doesn't exist.
Extra damages, I should say.
Extra damages there. Yeah, added damage we removed because you just ended up doing a damage effectiveness on then every single skill to the point where it ended up being...
I wasn't in love with damage effectiveness having to exist because I find it to be a bit confusing for people. Like, I don't love that, and so I was kind of really hoping to avoid it. I did have this sort of feeling, though, back when we did that, of this inevitable, like, we're probably going to have to add it back again one day, and I'm not going to like that, because, like, it is a very useful tool, but yeah, I think it's just... I think it kind of sucks as a thing, personally. I'm just not a fan of it.
The damage is extra...
That's another take on that.
I mean, that's we've done. I was just thinking of another change we've done here. So obviously, I'm pivoting a little bit, but it's still talking about caster weapons. So we'll say it's related. But in 040, we are doing a change where, even though we're not changing the plus spell so much, we are making it so that you can't essence +3 spells on the foci, which I said before. Just to be clear, that is a change. But the other thing we're doing is we're taking it's the runic and glyphic equivalent of spell damage on foci and for all the different damage types, and just saying they can't generate on foci now. And I think we're in the end game, we're then increasing the base energy shields a little bit. It doesn't, I know people, oh my god, you're making energy shield better. Don't worry, it makes like no real difference overall with the other changes in mind. But the idea is being that a wand and a foci should be slightly more defensively enhanced, not offensive compared to a staff. And so one thing we've done is we said all staff prefixes. So that's the damage is fire, the element damage is the types. It's the just increased specific damage, increased spell damage. What is it? Mana. I don't remember what else. The prefixes. Those are all now double wands as opposed to, I think it was 50 to 55% higher than wands, give or take. So, and then, so if you want... Like, it just adds more reason to want to use a staff. So the staff prefixes are double wands, whereas a wand plus foci is not giving you... Well, it was pretty much giving you more damage, I actually think it was, than a staff would have been able to.
Definitely not.
So at least now staffs are going to be better. But that isn't anything to do with the gem level problem. It's still obviously its own problem. But it's again just talking about a little bit of the like overall improvements to just like finding different types of gear where it's like, well, why do I want the staff when I can have a wand and a
you actually made a ton of changes to just weapons, like generally, right? Like in terms of the progressions and stuff, especially through the campaign.
Yes. When we were adding the talismans for the druid, we were like, what do we want all the in-game base types to be? What do we want the damage in the campaign? And what we then started looking into was a lot of the other weapons going, well, what were they doing? And then I was looking at things going, well, this doesn't seem right here, and this doesn't seem right there. And you get these weird things which people probably don't honestly appreciate, maybe, where it's like you're upgrading your weapon, so you're going from like...
that was awkward.
Random examples. I don't know. I don't actually know if this is true. I'm just going to hypothetically. It's like you go from two-handed mace to 3 to two-handed mace 4. You're going along the, I don't know what the actual names are. And then all of a sudden, like two-handed mace 5, it's got some implicit on it, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the damage is actually, the base DPS of that weapon is actually lower than the one before it. That was like 6 levels lower. And you're like, I don't know if that damage is worth the trade-off of the implicit. And so...
Definitely it isn't worth it.
It isn't, yes. Yeah. The valuation of the implicit's damage penalty was mismatched in a lot of spots. And so you get these things where every third weapon in the campaign is just like a random DPS drop. And so we're changing all of that as much as we can, at least.
The thing is, you might not even necessarily recognize this as a player because generally speaking, you just like you see a weapon that dropped and you're like, okay, what's the DPS of this compared to another one? You're not necessarily thinking about the fact that there's a new upgraded weapon type or that's like or that should have been higher. So what it ends up being is there's just a whole of like 20 levels go by where it's like I can't get a weapon upgrade and it's frustrating. And that's what it actually feels like when you actually play it. But in reality, what it was is that the weapon type that was supposed to be an upgrade is actually a downgrade. That's something that Mark immediately we saw it. He was like, okay,
we're doing a little bit more. I don't know if we're going to get through all the weapons, but we're trying. Whereas like you get to end game and it's like, okay, what's your fast weapon? What's your crit weapon? What's your just standard good weapon? And then here's implicit A, implicit B, implicit C, you know. And then it's like, which one's your bonk weapon? Like, which one am I just going to bonk things with the slow, heavy hitter? And trying to just do a lot more of that and make sure there's all the in-game choices for all of these weapons, a bunch of different cool implicits, changing some of them around, just reevaluating the damage of them all, just the base deep. So generally speaking, pretty much all of them going up across the board in little ways. Like, they're not nothing make or break, but like it's enough of a thing that as you're going through the campaign, you're not just like, where the heck are my upgrades? And also at the end game, just increasing a bit of the choices of different base weapons you could use for different builds and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that it's easy to go a little bit underappreciated, but it matters. Like in changing the staffs and all of that stuff, it does contribute to the overall picture of just things feeling good. And it's another one of these things where it's like, yeah, we just in the process of adding the druid weapons, we were like, well, let's go do the rest of this right as well while we're at it. So yeah, we've still got a bit more to do there, but I don't know if that will come in this week to come or as opposed to afterwards or something like that. But we're just going to try and do as much as we can. So even if not all the weapon types are in the patch notes, it isn't to say we aren't going to do the rest of them before the end of next week, because it doesn't take too long to do them. But at the same time, you don't want to rush it and mess it up. So I don't know, just a random thing.
I think people are increasingly souring on rarity and gear, especially now that it affects currency drops, and which makes it feel very mandatory, right? Because like, what do we play for? Currency, obviously.
Well, don't you worry. We've had our every 3 months discussion of talking about rarity and what we're going to do with it.
I think we nerfed it again, didn't we?
We did a little bit. We cut off some of the top tier mods, so just the overall amount of it is lower. It's a stopgap. I don't quite know. We haven't come to an exact decision, but like, it is true that it feels like every change we're making at this point is getting slightly closer to just it despawning.
Keep having those meetings then.
I will get rid of it eventually. It's just that we need to find we need to find the mods that can replace it in the mod pools that like in order to make it work. And it's like, this is the annoying thing. It's like if we just removed it right now, there just wouldn't be enough of a mod, like the mod pools wouldn't work.
I think it needs to be.
There is an interesting thing we see where I don't like. For sure, it is understandable, but we see a lot of videos being made with just absolute 1000% misunderstandings of how it all works. And which probably isn't helping its cause in any way, because it has all these hidden DR things and just a bunch of hidden mechanics in it. But yeah, there's certainly a mass amount of misunderstanding as to how it works, and people going, look, it does exactly this change, and it's like, it's not even doing 1/10 of what you're saying it's doing. That being said, I'm not saying it's not a problem. It is 100% a problem, but there is certainly a mass misunderstanding with, again, because we don't even explain it anywhere. It's just this hidden, there's some formula somewhere, that no one has access to, except for us.
And you've always been a bit secretive on drop-related stuff in particular, and like, you guys kind of happy to keep it that way for that one, or is it something you're like, misinformation?
We wanted to make it clear. We wanted. Okay. We were like, why don't we just get rid of the DR and find a way to make it work and actually display the actual value? But that is at conflict of removing it. So, there's a little bit of like, we just got to pick our direction here. And
it's inherently unclear even to us in some sense. Like, we can't say like the number of the like. Well, okay, but that sounds a bit weird. But what I mean by that is like, it's not like that when you get that it just increases currency. Like, it's through like 10 layers of like different ways things work that kind of result in an overall amount, like overall in currency increasing.
You mean like the content people are playing and stuff?
Well, not just that, but even in terms of just the way the system works, right? Like, it's a very indirect method by which currency is increased. It isn't just that we drop. It's not just like there's some code somewhere where it's like increase currency by this amount. Like, it is actually like it is a result of multiple systems on top of each other working to result in that, and that's why like the only way for us to even know like what it even does is by simulating actual drops from actual monsters in order to work out what it actually did. So yeah, it's like sort of, yeah, I understand that might seem strange, but it's because like the drops are complicated. And yeah, there's like so many things we've done over the years to kind of like massage them in various ways, and it's like it becomes quite unclear at some point, even like what the relationship between one number and another can even be. So
But
yeah,
I think the takeaway is Jonathan said he's removing it.
I want to get rid of it. We just need to find a thing to replace
Yeah,
it within
so-
the mod pool.
I'm like,
And that's very
it's okay. I
difficult.
don't need to understand
Okay,
it.
it's
then.
exactly the same conversation if we bring up what Dex gives as a yeah. It's like it's 100% the same type of problem.
So what should give? What
Oh,
should Dex
Jesus,
give?
yeah.
What do we make Dex give rarity?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
Sold.
Yeah, yeah.
Scales currency drops.
yeah, exactly.
But through several layers of
yeah.
abstraction.
And gold find if you're a wyvern.
That's
I only for
hilarious.
Wyvern.
Yeah, just for dragons.
Makes
All right.
sense.
Cool.
Oh, no. Okay. On the topic of balance for damage types and damage scaling, lightning damage seems like a clear-cut winner at the moment overall. Just
Yep.
in terms of doing more raw damage,
Everybody
having
saw that
access to
video.
shock,
I haven't watched it yet,
and
but
even
I
having
know
its
what they're
own kind of
talking
version
about.
of stun through electrocute, and I guess separate problems with, like, for example, fire and ignite. Where are you guys at with like the balance between the elements?
lightning
and
is
the
I'm
damage
not going to
overall?
say that they're in
especially
now
Path of
equal, but
Exile.
like a few things. So I mean, I know there was like a 15% more max damage notable. That's now 10. We've done, I think, all of the skills that had multiplicative shock effect are now increased, so they stack additively with the tree. So you know, it's honestly just like a whole bunch of different little things. Lightning rods are nerfed at endgame, just while we're here. Don't worry, lots of things are buffed that aren't
Tons of things are
that
buffed.
aren't lightning builds
yeah.
necessarily.
Nice.
But no, some are as well. But yeah, it's. I don't want to just make it about a like let's gut lightning. I want to make it be like, well, let's make these other things feel cooler and more special. So it would be very easy to just go and gut lightning across the board. But that just seems like an overall net loss of fun. I'd much rather, you know, find ways to incentivize the others as opposed to just take away the thing that currently is, you know, kind of enjoyable. So again, it's more important to not just nerf. Oh, now they're equal. So yeah, I won't say we're there yet, but the problem is obvious, so at least it's not.
And you don't really want things to be like the same power level ultimately. Like it seems like, you know, one of them should be more damage, and one of them has like more utility, like cold with freeze and
Well,
chill.
for sure, like cold was
But
intended
ultimately,
to be that way.
ultimately, people aren't going to accept if one element has more clear speed than another. So, like, while it may not be damaged directly, it is in some indirect way, it needs to translate to damage on some level.
I mean,
Because,
if
you need to, you know, it needs to, or rather, it needs to indirectly translate into clear speed in some manner, right? So, you know, that's
unless you're making the monsters 40% stronger,
Well,
and
but
they
that's
are
what I mean, right?
sticking
Because
around, and then you're freezing them.
Yeah,
and-
yeah. I mean, because we're doing that, it means that it ultimately means that, you know, the higher damage, smaller AOE, like not having to actually rely on arcing all the time to be able to get the massive AOE can kind of like make a difference. So even just that change alone can shift the meta like a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
it sounds like fair amount of changes to like the passive tree scaling for lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah,
as well as some
shock. I mean,
specific
shock is
change.
pretty hectic.
I see what he's saying, because I mean, it's like if
I
you
know.
go
You have
with
this
the
thing where it's
less
like, okay, well,
monsters,
let's say
higher
even cold.
HP
Obviously,
route,
you can freeze more often,
then
but then often
keeping
the
them
boss is sitting, or the
frozen
monsters are
is
sitting in
way
there.
more
Then
beneficial for
you know,
clear
poise
speed
timer
than-
before they can be CC'd again. You don't have any real control over that. And chill, well, chill has a maximum magnitude of 50, so you can't really scale. So like already alone, you can 5x the power of a shock, because I think the cap is 100, and in some cases, you know, Stormweaver even go further than that. Whereas you can't exactly be doubling the power of a chill necessarily, and so on. So there's like even just that as a random thing. Like Ignite doesn't have enough love right now for sure.
Yeah.
So even if it was meant to be those three ailments are a point of comparison, I mean, Shock is kind of a little bit crazy right now compared to what the others are capable of doing. Not to say Chill isn't strong, not to say Freeze isn't also obviously powerful. You know, they will have their time, and they may have already had their. I mean, we had freaking cast on Comet on crit for a while there, and all of that as well. So, you know, it will always change. But yeah, I mean, just bringing some of the Shock back and some of the other just little outliers here and there. It was a first step in the direction, but it's very important not to just do a like, I hate lightning, goodbye lightning. You know, it's like be easy to do. It's the wrong thing to do for sure. So
yeah, people also like playing lightning. I think it's just,
exactly.
I think it's just the feeling when they're like playing their cold builds and like it's better to convert to lightning. That's why I think that's when it becomes more problematic. You kind of mentioned you touched on the fact that you feel like Ignite needs some love. I feel like with damaging elements, there's a fundamental thing maybe that's causing problems where it's scaling with like hit damage and crit so directly, I guess, in this case, differently to how it's been done in the past, where it leads to maybe, in addition to it being a bit weaker, feeling like just kind of an add-on, like Ignite's not really a thing. I don't really have a pure Ignite build. Ignite's just like a bonus added kind of damage on top.
Yeah,
of like
it's a bit flat, honestly. I agree. We've had heaps of discussions here about all kinds of different options. We had some boil down to whether or not we're going to do keystones. We want to do something. We just haven't landed on exactly what we want it to be and how, whether or not it's like we change the base versus change it through, again, a keystone or something you spec into. But yeah, it is a bit flat and it doesn't have enough. I mean, well, yeah, it is, as you said. It's just, well, here's a bit more DPS, I guess, at the end of the day. And then even there's limited ways of kind of scaling it. And, you know, I'm not going to say there's none. There are some, but it's not enough. It's yeah. I mean, overall, I'd say it just hasn't got enough love. So, but we want to.
Backtracking a little bit on the like gearing, we touched on crafting a little bit, and so I love 0-3 crafting. Like, it was such a huge change from like a game that some would joke didn't have crafting into some of the most powerful and interesting crafting we've had ever in Path of Exile. I think like it's right up there. 0-3 crafting was amazing. Like the combination of the core currency changes, the changes to essences was really good, and how these things interplay with some of the omens and the abyss crafting even. So like definitely felt like some things were a bit illegal, and just the overall like how good it was. Like I don't know, like, oh no, I feel like this is illegal. So what of that was illegal or is illegal or is being?
Well, you said essences. So we talked about essence of sorcery.
It's not like we're gutting anything like that, right? There's just a few illegal things.
It's a few.
Are you pretty like you like overall like where it ended up?
I think it's way better than it was before.
Yeah,
100%.
Great.
Yeah.
It's what I found playing, and obviously and collating a little bit of data, but you know, it's the kind of thing where I don't have enough data to go and or enough feedback to go and make some sweeping change. Is that people find that getting the, you know, it's too easy now to get to the absolute upper echelons of gear. Is what I kind of honestly, and I assumed that there'd be a bit of a public civil war about me saying that, because I could see people going, no, that I love it that way, and a bunch of people going like, well, I'm completing my characters way too fast.
This was like
right. I got nowhere to go. I got no, you know, I want to play for longer, and I have nothing to spend my time doing. Like, it's done. My character's finished. And I could see people being very binary on that for sure. But then it's like, you know, how much of that just comes down to homogenizing, for example, and a few different axes like that.
I think a fair amount.
And but yeah, I know there's other problems, like for example, because of the high tier currency, there's a little bit of like, you don't even need to pick up tier 5 rares anymore, because what you actually want is a base type to craft from. And so in some ways it's wrong in that regard, for sure. Like, if people feel that way, that's probably not good. Yeah, and then there was some other things with the essences that went wrong. Like, for example, the essence of haste, being able to craft melee tiers of attack speed onto bows. It's not alright, right? That's better than what a bow can even yield. So, like, now a dropped bow can never be the best thing in the game because there's an essence that can grant high value. That's not intentional. Like, the essences should be good, but they shouldn't be giving illegal mods, as we keep saying. So, yeah, it's a bit of that, but I would hate to... I want to see how it goes, but I definitely... feel the thing that like definitely hit me the most that I want to get more feedback on is the people just going, it's not you. There's no point in picking up T5 rares eventually, because it, you know, I would rather just craft from a white base and I can more guarantee that it's going to be good. And so what's the point? But yeah, there's a bit of that, and so but again, it's very important with these kinds of things not to just like, yeah, that's obviously right. Let's just change everything, and now item gearing is just ruined because you could very easily undo with a lot of the good that 030's crafting added. So, yeah, fine tooth comb, being very careful with it.
Yeah, okay,
for sure.
So it sounds like definitely getting rid of a few specific things. Like Omen of Homogenization was a pretty clear one. I think that was like seemed hyper illegal, as well as like some of the specific essences. Like the tiered currencies, you feel like you're pretty happy with that overall?
I think overall I like them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And like the essence changes in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about abyss crafting? Now that that's going core, is that like changing a lot? Because that I think played a pretty important role in giving you some interesting decision making in crafting.
It's not changing very much aside from the removal of waystone crafting from it.
Yeah,
Sure, there'll be a few number changes around.
Yeah, just little bits here and there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, inherently we have to, because we buffed staff prefixes, we have to go and look at everywhere that adds equivalent mods and make sure those are increased as well. And so, like, either way, there's some overflow effects that just kind of happen due to balance changes all over the place. But nothing like no significant change to that at this point for sure. But it's still there. When you're playing through, even though it's core, when you're playing through the campaign, much like you get the world map icons, or it's like, oh, this thing's here. We've got a bunch of areas where there are abysses.
A few.
I think it's 6. And each give throughout the entire campaign, each will give a crafting thing. So you have at least 6 guaranteed campaign crafts.
Oh, great. Awesome.
If you explore and do the areas, and you can see it on your world map if you've done it or not. And so you're giving you a bit of that throughout. So we don't lose that the league had. And then in-game, sure, use your tablets and then start running it. And
awesome.
If you want to get the crafting, yeah.
Well, I'm amped to hear that, like, overall it seems to be fairly intact then, because I was definitely a huge fan of, like, the direction crafting's taking there. So, and I'm excited to see it getting built upon with, like, the Sacrifice of the Vile stuff too. Well, the new Vile stuff. Excellent news. Alongside that, we had the addition of asynchronous trade, and both things obviously very powerful for gear acquisition, raising both like the kind of floor of like what's considered your like baseline gear. What's your one exalt gear basically goes up a lot, but also like getting it more accessible to get to, like to craft or to obtain the really high end gear. How much of an effect have you seen in terms of like players kind of making the game easier? Like, has the game gotten a lot easier overall for people? Are people like reaching their final product earlier?
It's really hard to tell how much of it is the trade system and how much of it is the crafting changes. Like, it's actually really quite hard to disentangle.
So what about as an overall picture?
Yeah, I mean, look, but at the end of the day, it's like the crafting system the trading system as it is something people just need to have. So, like, we just have to, work within that.
I'll tell you, like, if we have a in-game itemization problem, we're not going to go and say we need to nerf trading.
Good.
Right.
We're past that.
Yeah.
Finally, we can put that in our review.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, so the question is, like, I guess now more just adapting over to that. I'm just curious, like, as to how extreme it has been, because it seems like it would be absolutely massive, like crazy. But
it's honestly quite hard to tell, as I said, due to the other changes.
I guess it's like a longer period thing to
But then at the end of the day as well, you could say that if this is a feature we need to have, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, we just need to work with it and just deal with it. So,
I know in the past there was a fear, and this kind of touches on crafting a lot, where if people could craft like really good gear super easily, that they would stop playing. Like, the player retention would go down. I feel like in some cases we've seen some of the opposite phenomena. Like, there is to an extent the opposite phenomena where like people gain access to the builds they want to play, they gain access to content they might not have otherwise in a more reasonable time frame for them. So their engagement and the amount of time they play ends up going up as a result, like in a surprising twist.
That definitely can happen, but at the end of the day, like, retention isn't exactly the reason why we do it. It's because we sort of feel like, if we did want to make getting the hardest gear harder, then the reason we would be doing it is because we don't like the feeling that you can get of like, I don't have anything else to get. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the reason to do it, not necessarily because of retention reasons. You know what I mean? Like, it's more about the play experience, to be honest. Because, when it comes right down to it, like, our model has always been, we want to keep you coming back every league. Like, we don't necessarily care how long you play a given league for. We just want to make sure that each time you play a league, you're enjoying your experience, that you want to come back and play the next one. So, that's kind of our philosophy on that. So, retention isn't directly a thing that we're like optimizing for exactly in that way.
Players hyperfixate on that.
Yeah, it's more about retention from league to league. Like, what are we doing? You know, like how many players do we get back for the next league as opposed to how many players do we get back the next day?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because we have like Steam charts, we get hyper-fixated on retention numbers.
I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter either, right? Because you can, on some level, judge the success of how much people like the league based on that.
Yeah, it can tell you how much fun people are having.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, what people are saying about what they thought about it is actually more important than the number of people actually playing it, because like that, you know, as long as they're like happy and they want to come back, you know, then we're happy. Mean,
if you have more fun in a smaller amount of time and then you're more happy to come back next league, then that's a win.
That isn't necessarily a problem, right?
You may have played less this league, but maybe...
So they're kind of a little bit unrelated in some ways, but also sort of related in others, you know.
Okay, well, it'd be interesting to see how this continues to play out then, the crafting trading thing. I'm super interested in like the economic aspects of that.
Right.
But it's definitely had a big impact, and on the whole, like 0.3 felt like a huge net positive for both crafting and trading.
Agreed.
So good.
Yep.
So good.
Agreed.
All right, well, we'll keep. I'll ask about that like everything. I think 'cause it's like where do you guys feel it's at now? Yeah. What about now? Can we scroll to the end? Thanks. There we go. So we had just a couple of random questions. I do see one in chat, but it's not really a question. People just typing move speed, but I don't really actually know what the context for that is. You guys know?
It's the speed at which you move.
Very insightful. Thank you. Maybe you guys could type an actual question in chat. I'm just saying instead of just chanting, but
adjacent to that, one change we have made, which is kind of interesting, and I think it's a kind of, I don't know if the general desire is more or less of it. I suspect you'll find a bit of both. But irrelevant of that, like a change we made is there's lots of in-game runes where you can now only use one of them. And it's quite interesting because obviously before it was like get the double socketable effect on boots, put all the removal speed runes in, and it's well, great, now you got. And you know, it's kind of interesting, but it also meant that generally what was happening is every single slot was just stacked with the same rune type. So now you're getting this like kind of nice mixture of different runes being used and different things, and it's kind of enhancing that. But yes, it overall makes the amount of movement speed you're getting from boots lower at the end game. But those were like very, very, very expensive. So which is kind of cool. What else is not much else has really changed
kind
there.
Of like a rehashing of the old discussions of like the mandatory move speed on boots versus like implicits and things like that. I've always been a big fan of like a little bit of implicit movement speed on boots as you go up or something like that. But I know you guys are happy with like having move speed be an important stat on boots. Like, I guess, and maybe some people just want more move speed, but
I mean, some people always will.
That's a thing, yeah.
There's probably some people that want to move
faster.
It's just less. I think there's some people who might want to have a less mandatoriness to have to move so fast as well to some degree, but
I've been more on that side of things, like maybe make some of the maps a little smaller so that move speed's less important, I feel. We don't like mandatory mod items on it was that topic. Okay, cool. Okay. Thanks team. Just confirming that. Yeah, I feel like that's been discussed fairly well at this point. Yeah,
we're at the same stance on that really. Which is, it's interesting because technically, if we end up acknowledging that is wrong in the context of staffs and wands, then we might have to reevaluate why it's right in the context of movement speed. You know, it's an interesting thing where one discussion might yield the other because it's kind of a similar problem in both contexts, and we might end up who knows what side of the fence we're going to land on. You know what I mean? So
I've seen Acolyte of Chayula get mentioned a lot. I have not played that class, so I can't speak to it too closely. But is that one that is getting
we've done number
love,
buffs at the very least, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think almost every ascendancy class has some level, like honestly some of it is like one node changed, some of it like for example Pathfinder's got 2 whole new notables, and like we got rid, I mean Pathfinder just did that, we got rid of the poison spreading notable because it's pretty much Herald of Plague, and we just put the 4-pointer to the 2-pointer so you get the actual more powerful spike one for cheaper. We got rid of that like multi-choice ailment mitigation, and we were like, wow, it's the Pathfinder, so let's do some cool passive tree stuff. So pulling some inspiration from the PoE1 Scion, Pathfinder can now also allocate passives from either the Witch or the Warrior start points, you know, for just like, you know, doing some crazy builds. And I think there's even a new notable on there where normally you have your highway nodes and it's like 5 dex and strength. There's also now 3 other options. for the Pathfinder can take that node, and now there's 6 choices you can do on your travel nodes. So it's like, oh, I don't want as much attributes. I'll get instead damage. I think it's damage, defenses, and like cost efficiency or something.
Hi,
You can kind of like better
I'm John.
balance how much damage you want, defenses you want, or
That's not what I'm
reduce. So it's like
looking for.
another kind of cool, interesting thing. So yeah, I mean, that's a class where it's gotten a bit more changes. Acolyte is numerical for now. But again, we want to do something grander with Chaos. It's on
There's
our
quite a lot of just
on our
monk
list.
generally improvements as well, just balance wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
every class has kind of got
Been pretty
changes
in the-
everywhere.
in the thick of it,
I
in
think
the
the
balance.
patch notes currently lacks. We have a thing where we're doing a bunch of changes to specific monsters for being
When
spected.
are you bringing back Ironheart?
Like when we actually looked at it, we're like,
Yes.
look, if we just increase Spectre overall, it's going to increase the specific specters. Like we want to increase the amount of the pool of viable monsters for different
Nice,
cases.
yeah.
So here's the thing. Now it takes it from a skills balance team into the kind of monster balance team situation, and like such a different resource. So we're going to start doing that process where we try and do like 5 to 10 from here and here and here and here per patch, and kind of just start trying to get them to be more viable. And specifically as specters, and honestly you'll find most of the time it's just changing the cooldowns and changing the AI to be like not, because normally they're just like, I have to care about a player and maybe some minions are there, but honestly sometimes they just don't even care about the minions. They're just like, nah, there's a player, right? They assume there's a player because generally speaking there is. And so now when they make a specter version, well, there's no player for them to target. There's only monsters, and so they might be just making some silly decisions about how they're targeting and when they're using their skills and stuff like that. So want to do a bunch of that, but those won't be in the patch notes because the intention's that we're still doing them. I don't want to release a half-baked set of patch notes for that. The other thing is I think we're still doing, I've held back from the patch notes, I've held back a bunch of the minion occult, specifically a bunch of changes around command skills and stuff like that, just because I want to just do a little bit more iteration before we release that. Couple of Ice Ranger changes. I think that's like a massive improvement. To the Ice Ranger kind of play. Using the existing skills, a lot of numerics, a lot of changes to ice fragments, stuff like that. What else is not in there? There's a few other bits and pieces not in the patch notes, and that's because all of our stuff is, and that's just not to say there's nothing changed. I've just taken them out for now because I want to make sure they're right. Otherwise, we have to give some false information and then change it, and it's not great.
You've been updating the patch notes over the course of a week now, so people should still probably expect that. moving
Yeah,
forwards,
for sure.
Initial patch notes coming.
I
in
know
10
they
minutes.
were like, I think we ended up changing something like 80 different unique items or something like that.
Sick.
Again, mostly focusing on end-game ones, bosses ones,
want the
mythic ones,
patch
working
notes,
our way
bro.
down the
At
rarity. So
this
like
point, I just
more
want
of
the
the
patch
ones that
notes.
are meant to be higher value and meant to be higher.
I'll figure it all out
We've
for
demoted
myself.
some to be more common. We've promoted some to be rarer, stuff like that, and done a whole pass. But even then, like I know last night we were like, oh, there's like kind of 5 or 6 here that we're like maybe on the fence about. Let's, to be safe, pull them out, discuss them, reevaluate them, and then pull them back in the patch notes afterwards. Just to be safe, because again, I don't want to mislead people.
I saw a question about that from our resident summoner expert in chat. But the monster changes, like for making specific changes to monsters for specters, does that end up in patch notes? That seems like pretty hard to track.
It will this time.
Nice.
Well, I don't think we've done much in the way of actual specific monster changes this time around. But this, what I was talking about doing, will, yes.
Okay.
It just what I'm saying is it won't be in the initial set of patch notes because we haven't finished them yet. So, but they will be, like, I think the patch note says will be in a post later this week, or later, in the week coming. So
A funny one in chat I see is like, when can we get more melee variety? I'm like, you guys literally just added like a new melee weapon. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but the talisman's a melee weapon.
no, melee is never right in any game ever. No, I mean,
like-
because it's kind of true, right? Like,
It's quite. There's a funny phenomenon right now where it's like, whenever we talk about melee, people say that like there's literally
People
only
just
maces
don't
in
like
game.
playing
It's
the
like-
warrior the
it's
way
like
they have to play the
Horse
warrior.
dives over in the
and stuff,
corner
like
crying.
maces
It's like
and stuff.
no one pays any attention to
The
it.
abilities are
It's
cool,
like-
but it all
it's like
comes
doesn't
out
count
so
as well.
slowly.
It's like a
Everything,
half
like-
Ranged weapon, I
Storm
guess.
Wave
People want, like,
really
swords or
melee,
something,
then
where
you
you
get
play
that.
There's
like
always this
more of
funny
a
exception with
faster
it, but like
pace,
ultimately, I
like-
think what it comes down to is that the game doesn't have swords
Yes,
yet.
I know.
Is that
and I know we need swords. Yeah, I get it.
we need
Yep.
swords.
We need
yeah.
swords.
The swords are From talking to you, it sounds like swords. Swords are getting added to the game at some point.
At some point, we will have swords. I can promise you that.
Yes, it's the importance is understood. It seems.
I understand the game,
A
bro.
bit too fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm not upset with it.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
mean, we
anything
were talking about the ascendancy. So yes, a lot of numerics, some more broader changes, some getting a little bit, some getting a lot. Like just because it's getting a little bit doesn't mean we think it's in the right spot. At the end of the day, we've just started going. Like Smith and Katava got a decent amount of changes.
Nice.
Kind of a lot better now, for sure. We like over nerfed it. But yeah, lots of like around the. I mean, honestly, like I want to say 90% of all the balance changes are probably in the direction of taking underplayed and underpowerful things and making them a bit better.
Nice.
That isn't to say that we've successfully made, like maybe at the end of the day, lightning archers are still somehow better than ice archers at the end game. But certainly the gap is narrowed and you'll feel less bad for playing one over the other, and less bad about decisions. And so that's ultimately the goal, and we'll get there eventually. But yeah, huge step in the right direction, I'd say. But yeah, and then things like Outer Louis, all those outliers on the top end, those are coming down a bit, for sure. Sometimes more than a bit, depending how extreme they were. Culmination's another one where like just having an uncapped combo thing, when you get damage per combo. I mean, and then obviously you can just one-shot everything in the game at that point, so that's a problem as well. Some of these outliers 100% brought into place, given caps, whatever the case is, but again, more like 95% of all the changes that we're trying to make is bringing up the underplayed things to be a bit better, and just to all kinds of varying degrees. It's really hard to. It's like, do you just do everything across the board and try and look at everything and give everything a minute, or do you really hone in on one build? And right at this point, we're trying to do a very widespread. Let's look at literally every skill and go, is there a decision we can? What would we do? And it's like, it would require this huge rework. Okay, instead of waiting for that, can we just do some numbers for now? Do the rework later to really give it what it truly should be? If so, let's do that, and then bench that thing for a later time when we have more time, and then move to the next, do the same assessment, and then we just try to do that for literally everything.
The Balanced Ninja Squad is currently focusing on clear speed, it sounds like.
Yes, but for things that are not already, up at the top tier, generally.
Right. We're getting quite close to patch notes, so we'll rapid fire some things off here.
We got like 5
It seemed like at
minutes.
one point, like Druids were going to have claws as their weapons, so that has obviously changed to talismans. Or
It might have
they
been
were
a case
like
a long
That
time
was
ago.
actually
that was like
actually for the
something.
Huntress.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, weird. Yeah, so it sounds like claws are probably not going to be a thing then.
probably
Like,
not anytime soon. No.
Decided not less interesting than
Yeah,
other
yeah.
options. Yeah, all right, cool. Hot swapping between controller and mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, something I promise every single time,
So it's,
and yet somehow we still haven't done it yet. So what I can say is that it is actually, we have an implementation of it. We're not shipping it this time, but it's much more close than it was last time. Like, there's just some stuff that needs to happen, but like, it is a thing that has been seen on a programmer's workstation as to work. But yeah, there's still a bit more to do. But yeah, like next time, I know I've said this twice before, but next time we will definitely have that. I know it's like, it's a weirdly huger feature than it seems, because like the code was just originally not written with that in mind at all. And yeah, it's just requiring a lot of re-engineering of a whole bunch of existing UI to be able to get it to work.
looking forward to it, so I can
Yeah, I know.
actually do inventory management.
I know. We will have it, but yeah,
Controller
it's-
inventory. Oof,
yeah.
No.
But yeah.
Okay, good news. It's being worked on daily, it sounds like. Do you have like a rough timeline for full release, or not ready to announce that yet?
Don't really have it to announce, but I mean, look, I certainly don't want it to be 2027. Like, it's gotta, I really want it to be next year. Like, I really do. So, like, it'll be, I really want it to be next year. But,
We certainly underestimated the
Yeah,
amount
October
of work we wanted.
2026.
yeah.
It's certainly by having to make all the leagues constantly and all of that. And I know some people might be like, just don't. But like,
No, you need to do.
we want people to play the game still and
Exactly,
enjoy
yeah,
it,
they
and
do.
do what we want to do. But
Well,
so
watch,
you
October
get this thing where we
2026.
severely underestimated how much extra time it would add.
Your rule of cool of like, we want to do the 130 extra passives because it's cool. I mean, that has an expense.
Yes, all of this does get in the way technically, but
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're not going to release until everyone's happy.
worthwhile.
so
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
so
true.
that's
That's
what needs to happen first. So
It's a good
Yeah.
trade-off.
yeah.
With the performance improvements, which looked like really impressive, even more than the 25% you're saying. Like looking at the side by side footage, was like it looks even better than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did 25. I said 25% as a commitment because like that's kind of like I want to make sure. Like, look, people are really sensitive to the stuff, so like I wanted to make sure that we're not over promising.
Under promise,
and so under promise and over deliver was the plan. But effectively, like I've been focusing a lot myself actually, and trying to like make sure that it's getting better. Effectively, what we've done is, I mean, obviously there's just sort of traditional optimization that happens, but a lot of it is just effectively making sure we're multi-threading things better, taking advantage of more CPU cores. If you're GPU bound and you don't have dynamic resolution turned on, then it obviously won't affect you because you're GPU bound. If you've got dynamic resolution on, so you know like GPU is not so much of a concern, then CPU was definitely a problem for just about everyone. Like even really fast CPUs were having issues in in-game mapping. So the goal really was to make it so that, you know, like when you've got a lot of shit going on, that your CPU is not overloaded. We did that by multi-threading things much better than we were before. And, you know, just, traditional optimization, just lots of improvements there. Like now... there's so many things that are working better than they were before. Like in many cases, honestly, you see double frame rate, like just straight up.
Awesome.
But as I said, like not consistently in all cases. So and consoles obviously saw a huge improvement.
They running earlier.
You know, consoles just have weaker CPUs
like
than PCs do.
Earlier
so therefore, when you're doing CPU
Exile,
optimization, consoles are what's going to benefit from that. It's just a lot better. Now, one of the things I'm a bit worried about is that by multi-threading more things, you can run into multi-threading bugs. And so there might be, hopefully not, but there might be some more crashing going on when we first launch, just because, like, you know, like the thing with multi-threading is that, like, depending on the exact scenario, different things can happen at different times. It can cause some issues. I'm really hoping we don't run into that. We're trying to do as much testing as we can to fix all those kinds of issues. Effectively, that would be the worry. But I think that it was definitely worth taking the plunge and doing that stuff because it is way better. I probably should make like a video on exactly like, you know, some of the like go into a deep dive into it at some point because it's kind of interesting.
And even it feels like even still, occasionally you guys are still just finding
ridiculous
things that like, we just made it a whole nother chunk faster.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just because of some just ancient thing.
It's we definitely still find some crazy stuff, and like it's going to be a lot better.
I expect it's not even, it's just going to keep going as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's the other thing is like I want to spend even more time on getting this exactly right. We're not even at the point like when I'm looking at it now, I'm like we could still theoretically make this quite a bit faster than it even still is.
You've been personally like really on this every time.
I have. Just because it's been such a big issue, and you know, like I wanted to actually get back in there and spend a bit of time on it. And as I said, like already it's so much better now.
It's
we'll be
because
even better than
the
that.
game is driven off of content.
Fantastic.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to watch like people blasting in-game maps. Like
no one's interested in listening to us anymore.
Everybody's gone. No, thank you very much, guys. That was
so it's
a pleasure to
not
talk to you once again.
a good
viewership
experience either.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank
When
you.
a game like this
Alrighty, thanks for the
revolves
questions,
around
everyone.
content
Thanks, everyone.
for the most part.
Thanks for watching.
Most other players don't reach in-game and all this other stuff. So
All right.
yeah. It's like, I would say that's probably one of the biggest issues with Path of Exile is just like when you get to those in-game blasting scenarios, how the game's still like, I get like 2 or 3 crashes a farming session because I just overload my computer with how much shit's going on. But yeah, that was like really good. So now we just wait for the patch notes. Let's see, Path of Exile. Okay, let's go. This is what we've been waiting for, everybody. We'll get into the patch notes. Okay, so we got the Druid. We've got 21 new skills, 30 plus new supports. That's good. 2 new ascendancies. We've already seen those with the Shaman and the Oracle or whatever. We got Wolf, Bear, and Wyvern. Fate of the Vault, build your own dungeon, 9 crafting mechanics. Hell yeah. New Pinnacle, 11 new unique items. Abyss is going to core. Waste stone crafting is better. Let's get music going again. Start fresh in a new economy. All your old characters are still present, but the tree still... okay, this is just normal stuff. Now that it's returned, the battle structures throughout raid class are activating and affecting nearby creatures. Sacrifice the afflicted monsters to power devices and travel to Lyra Val, ancient temple. Gather enough power to modify new challenges. Complete more beacons to get more energy. Cool, standard stuff. New playable character class: the Druid, Oracle, and Shaman Ascendancy. This is just repeating what the new stuff at the top is. We get talismans, two-handed martial weapons that are useful for shape-shifting attacks. New augments. Abyss is a core mechanic. They already covered that pretty well. Improve of key operations allow us to utilize more CPU cores, resulting in higher frame rates. 25% boost. That's what they were just talking about. Tailwind grants 1% increased movement speed, 2% increased skill speed. So that's nerfed. 10% increased evasion rating, previously 15%, and prevent 1% of damage from deflected hits per stack. Shouldn't this be in like base unarmed attack time is now 1.65? Cool. Modifiers the enemies required to consider surrounding can no longer be reduced below 1. Okay, so you have to have at least one thing around you. That makes sense. A fixed rage. Igniting aura effects, including ignited ground, no longer apply infinite ignites. Instead, they apply regular ignites with standard duration and will reapply them after they expire the next time the aura applies flammability to that target. The same as if it had been removed. That sucks. Wind Ward has been removed. Bullseye now requires called shots. Bullseye now applies 10 critical weakness. Added a new Mirage Deadeye Ascendancy passive, which grants the Mirage Deadeye meta skill. Mirage Deadeye, while active, firing a ranged attack projectile will create a Mirage that uses socketed ranged attacks for a short duration, then vanishes. You cannot create another Mirage for a short time after initially creating one. That's kind of cool. Pathfinder, Contagious Contamination has been removed. Practical Remedies have been removed. Running Assault now also grants cannot be heavy stunned while sprinting. Added a new Path Seeker multi-choice ascendancy passive skill with the following choices. Path of the Warrior can allocate passes from the warrior's starting point. That's cool. That's actually really cool. Traveler's Wisdom now requires Path Seeker. Traveler's Wisdom now grants attributes, passive skill, option. Okay. So Pathfinder got some pretty cool changes, not gonna lie. Deadeye, I like that too. The Mirage thing, like, there's potential there. But yeah, Pathfinder is definitely, I would say, a winner in this. Elemental Surge reworked. Grant skill Elemental Surge now provides when you consume a charge, trigger Elemental Surge to gain 3 lightning surges. Surging Avatar rework now when you consume a corpse. Gain 2 cold. Okay. Ritualist sacrifice stolen modifier duration is 82 to 120 seconds from general. Previously 15 to 19. Damn. Quality is now plus 20 seconds to stolen modifier duration. Previously plus 2. Damn. Corrupted Life Force now also has you deal 15% more damage to enemies affected by Blood Boil. Warbringer. We're gonna go ahead. All these bots, bro. Okay, back to what we were doing. Imploding impacts now also grant fully broken armor. You inflict increases all damage taken from hits instead. Ancestral Warrior minions, so notable now, more consistently hits close-up enemies with the second part of its slam. So not really many changes going out to these other ascendancies and stuff. Crushing Impact now grants 25% against heavy stun. Mountain Splitter, every third slam skill that doesn't create fissures, which you use yourself, causes 1 additional aftershock ahead and to the side of each initial area. Smith of Katava's getting a lot. Each notable grants 200 armor in addition. Padded plates removed, lead lining removed, heavy bracing removed. Damn, it's gonna be like a whole new ascendancy. %60 glory generation. 100% increased thorns damage. 30% increased spirit. Reduced crit damage taken by 100%. Damn, they buffed it by 50%. That's huge. Heat proofing now causes your body armor to grant bonus of being unaffected by all damaging ailments. Previously was just ignite. That's a huge buff. The fire spell on melee hit skill granted by the heat of the forge on Smith of Katava now costs no mana when triggering socketed spells. It also now gains 10% increased damage per level up to 200%. Dude, Smith of Katava is gonna be like, I might play that. No, I'm definitely going Druid. Temper weapon skill granted by against the emblem Katava now costs no mana. The combust triggered by its empowered attacks now deals 25% more damage at all levels and has a base radius of 3 meters. Now changes target less frequently and thus spends more time actively attacking. As a mace, it has a lower cooldown for its slam, lower cooldown for sweep. Fixed the bug where the damage dealt while it was dashing forwards didn't cover the full distance of the dash. Infernalist, Seething Body no longer grants while on high Infernal Flame. You and allies in presence gain 50% of damage as fire damage. Seething Body now gains Elemental Arcane when you cast a spell while on high Infernal Flame. Elemental Arcane does not expire while on high Infernal Flame. Lose Elemental Arcane on reaching maximum Infernal Flame. I don't know what any of that is. I don't play that. Blood Mage, Whispers of the Flesh now also grants targets cursed by you have 100% reduced life regeneration. That's a decent little quality buff. Refracted Infusion now grants when collecting an elemental infusion, gain another different infusion. Previous was a 50%, now it's guaranteed. That's pretty good. Now also grants remnants can be collected from 50% further away. Multiplying Squalls grants +2 to limit of elemental skills. So that's a decent buff for Stormweaver. I still think Smith of Katava so far. Pathfinder and Smith of Katava seem like they're the biggest winners out of all this. Inevitable Agony has been updated, now ignores curse limit. Ooh. Now causes cursed targets to take 50% of hit damage dealt to them while cursed again when curse expires. Was previously 20% at level 1, scaling to 33%. Now it's just 50%. That's pretty good. I don't know how I feel about the Chronomancer. It's still kind of in a weird place. That was potentially going to be my favorite class, too. I was really looking forward to, like, the whole time-space manipulation thing. But I feel like it still just isn't there. Like, I don't know. I want to be able to interact with enemies more. Like, it needs, like, its own abilities. Like everything in the Chronomancer tree needs to be, like, a class-related ability or something. You could have, like, a passive or two, but I feel like that's the only way you could actually flesh that class out. Like, there's nothing thematic skill-wise that has anything to do with chronomancy. So I was really looking forward to that when I heard about that class being in the game, but then we didn't really get any space-time abilities, so it's kind of... yeah. It needs a rework. Thaumaturgic Infusion now grants 1% maximum cold per 3 blue socketed. So 1 less, that's alright. 1 less on that for fire. 1 all the way across. Dynamism granted by advanced notable now generates a charge once every 5 seconds. So you got 3 seconds off. Like, that's actually a pretty good buff. So Gemmeling Legionnaire, like, that's a decent little buff. Even though it's only one thing, really, like, that's a pretty good buff. Tactician. I haven't played around with these. I don't really know too much about them. Supporting fire skill granted by Unleash Hell notable passive has been updated. Command death from above cooldown is now 20 seconds, so they cut it in half. Now fires a volley every 0.75 seconds instead of 2 seconds. That's less than half. More than half, I guess, but since it's a reduction. Now fires 6 total volleys instead of 4. Now has 14 meter width instead of 7. But the attack damage is cut way down. So it's more spread out, does less damage, but fires way more often. Okay. Embankments has been updated. Artillery Ballista no longer grants 40% increased mobilization. Build up now grants 20% increased skill speed. Siege Ballista no longer grants 50% increase against immobilized, 25% against immobilized. So that got nerfed. Mortar Cannon now grants 25% of damage gained as fire, so 10% more. Spell Totem to Embankment Auras. Spell Totem grants 50% increased critical hit chance. Ooh. Okay. Witch Hunter. Witchbane now has enemies have maximum concentration equal to 30% of their maximum life. This is a buff. I love that they had to clarify that. Ceremonial Ablution now grants... Is that supposed to be ablution or ablation? Now instead grants sorcery ward, also protects against physical and chaos damage. Defensive buff. Let's see, Invoker. My boy. Now grants 35% less evasion rating. It was previously 50% less. Soul Springs Eternal now additionally grants meta skills have 50% increased spirit reservation efficiency. Cool. Unbound Avatar skill granted by has been updated, now has a cooldown of 12 seconds. Unbound Fury, when you inflict an elemental element with a hit on an enemy, no longer has no more than once every 0.2 seconds for each type of element. So you gain less per ailment, but you're not limited on how often you can gain. Okay. Well, that would be good. That'll work. It's not bad. It's not really a big deal though. Like I said, so far the only changes I'm seeing that are really kind of a big deal. There's a couple things here and there, like Deadeye might be able to do some new stuff with like the Mirage that might be kind of cool and stuff. But Pathfinder is going to be a pretty noticeable difference. And then there were a couple other little ones here and there, but the Smith of Katava and the Pathfinder, I would say, are going to be like the two to keep your eye on. Acolyte of Chayula. This one probably needed the most. Embrace the Darkness now gives +10 to maximum darkness per level, was previously +8. Into the Breach skill now leech 15%, so they more than doubled your leech. Created closer to the player. That's good. That's actually like just a really good quality of life. Choice of power, choice of life, choice of mana now also grant 50% increased effective remnants and 50% increased remnant pickup range. So these are just mostly quality of life. I don't see this really being like a huge... Now has a cooldown of 4 seconds at all levels, so it doesn't scale anymore. Damn, they doubled the attack damage on Void Illusion. Now has a 3-second cooldown charges, previously 1. Oh, now has 3 cooldown charges, and before it only had 1. So damn, they doubled the damage and gave it 2 charges. I don't know what that's really going to do for the class, but it's interesting. Is that enough? I don't think so. But I don't think it's too far off from being where it needs to be. Let's see, with the addition of the Druid, other new games, we've added passive support phase throughout the passive tree. 250 new passive skills to the Druid side of the passive tree. Values of flammability, magnitude have been increased massively. So see, that's kind of what he was hinting at with like Ignite and everything. It is subpar, but like these changes might kind of even things out a little bit between Lightning and the other stuff. And it's like that would be a neat way to go about it, is like kind of buffing it up by the flammability side of things versus just the Ignite side of things. Maybe? I don't know. I think that it needs to be like a stripping mechanic, like you strip like armor, or it does something. Like it's like a benefit of Ignite is like it does damage to armor at like a reduced rate constantly or something like that. Just to kind of, you know, it's not going to do as much damage potential as Lightning. But that armor shred stacking on top of it, like once you pop things armor, could open up other mechanic. I don't know. I wish I could work for Grinding Gear, dude. I could sit here and just like think about this stuff and like try to crunch and come up with like ways to go about it like all day. Okay, Hollow Palm, I see it mentioned. Like, let's wait a second and see what it says. All instances of gaining Flame, Ice, and Lightning Arcane have been changed to gain Elemental Arcane to better support builds using multiple elements. That's good, so you're not funneled into that. Hollow Palm now grants 1% more attack speed per 75 item evasion, was previously 25. So Hollow Palm's gonna get nerfed. It hits faster, but it doesn't, well, no. It's the scaling, they changed how it scales. But it was like super good to level with and stuff. Like, so, I don't know. The Walker of the Wild's keystone has been removed from the passive tree and its effects have been moved onto a newly added lineage support. Elemental Equilibrium now grants Cold Infusion Remnants instead of fire instead of lightning. Yeah. Crimson Assault, 50% more magnitude of bleeding. So bleeding got a little bit of love. I think there's still the whole problem of bleed versus poison versus chaos dot versus like all these like damage over time mechanics too. I think just like they have the problem, they're having to differentiate these elements from each other, and they like lightning's clearly outclassing everything. You have an even worse problem when it comes to differentiating bleed and poison and everything. Like, it's still a big problem in Path of Exile 1. And, you know, it's something that needs to be addressed at some point. I don't think it's as relevant as ailments are, but I think it's a even worse example of the same problem. Just how it's coded to work. Like, there's certain things about the way that Ignite works versus, like, Poison versus, like, Chaos Dot and stuff like that. And it's just really not worth it. There's not enough differentiation between the three either. It's cool, like one ignores energy shield, I guess, but is that enough to really justify like the difference between like effective HPs, you know? Like, I don't know. Added 3 new attack area of effect clusters to the monk part of the passive tree. So monk gets more attack area of effect. So we don't get our herald chains anymore, but they're going to give us more AoE. I can dig it. 2 projectile speed clusters to the mercenaries. So basically the mercenary ascendancies are just going to be getting a lot more attack speed. They're not going to be hitting as hard with individual hits, but it seems like they're going to be hitting more often and hitting more targets. So that'll help them, especially with like what they were talking about getting overran in the end game and everything. It's like those are changes kind of more geared towards alleviating some of those problems. That's why I'm kind of hoping like the changes to some of these ascendancies and these skills didn't already kind of alleviate that. And then they nerf density and stuff too on top of it, and then it kind of overshoots it. I'm hoping they were a little easy on this stuff. Added a new blow cluster and projectile cluster and ranger, granting them surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow. Okay, cool. Remnant attraction for witch and monk. Principal infusion now as remnants can be collected from further away. Part of the well unique gen is collected from further away. Remnant pickup range is now further away. So a lot of this stuff's quality of... This is just quality of life to make things more effective. 20% increased presence area of effect instead of skills not to consume glory. Lightning damage per intelligence. No longer grants that. Instead now grants 10% more maximum lightning damage. Yeah, because, like, that's insane, honestly, when you sit back and think about that. 2% increased lightning damage per 10 intelligence, bro. Like, that's absurd. So cutting that down to just 10% max, I feel like that's acceptable. Wildstorm no longer grants 15% maximum lightning damage. It now grants 4% of damage as extra lightning damage. Gain 4% of damage as extra cold damage and plus 10 to dexterity. Tandem assault to hunting companion with no change to functionality. Change some small passive nodes. Crescendo has been moved to intelligence. Perpetual charge has been moved to intelligence. Mark for death is now strength. Gamble shot's now intelligence. Bramble slam is now strength. Disabled font of rage. Disabled ricochet 3. Oof. Rename, that doesn't matter. World drop lineage supports are now less common overall. No longer has a cost multiplier, previously 20%. So they doubled all these. Einhar's Beast right now grants killing blows for supported strike skills. I don't really care about most of this stuff. Nova projectiles no longer cause supported skills to gain 4 additional projectiles. Added Nova projectiles. Causing supported skills to gain 6, deal 50% less damage and applying cooldown time of 8 seconds. Damn, no more Novas. Dominus Grass supported skills chain 100% more times. Chain 1 no longer grants. Now grants 30% less damage with hits. What? I don't even get this. That doesn't even make sense. So chain support no longer chains? And all it does is it makes you do less damage with hits? What? Why the fuck would you ever use it? Why does it even exist? That's dumb as hell. That's got to be a mistake. Impact Shockwave now actually makes aftershocks. Oh, that's going to be really good for Impact Shockwave. Non-strike wind attacks? Bro, what? This is actually a really cool change. I like this. That might open the door for some neat interactions. Skill changes. Added wind type to the following skills: Twister, Whirling Slash. So that means you can use Impact Shockwave on any of these abilities too. Twister, Whirling Slash, Wind Blast, Wing Blast, Whirlwind Lance, Wind Serpent's Fury, Tornado, Tornado Shot, and projectiles created by Staggering Palm. That's crazy. There's going to be so much new stuff this season. Or this league. Can no longer consume poison nor trigger acidic bursts from inanimate objects. Cool. Invocations now have an internal cooldown. New spirit gem skills being moved to new gem tier. Triggers volcanic step. Man, I don't know. I don't really feel like reading all these. My eyes are starting to hurt. There's just so much. I'm not even halfway through it. Ghost Dance got nerfed. Let's see. They made a lot of changes to lightning bow skills. I can already tell. Everything with a longer entry is a lightning ability. I'll probably go like a chaos build or something this league. I don't know. I don't want to go bows and I don't want to play a monk unless I go acolyte of Chayula. But I'm thinking I want to do a wolf druid or a wyvern druid and focus on cold or fire or something. I don't know. And these are all unique item changes. If you guys really care about this, you can go in and look individually. I don't really care. Rune sockets have been renamed augment sockets. Existing talismans have been renamed idols. It's making my brain hurt. In-game changes, maps no longer scale pack size, you increase the, yeah. Support gem compatibility of all equipped skills is now shown when hovering a support gem in the gem cutting interface. Well, that's the biggest that's the biggest patch note out of all of them. See, these are the kind of changes that matter right here. Is like just the actual game. I don't care about class changes. I'm going to play whatever skill. I'm going to use whatever items. I could be blind, not even know that they were changed. It's not going to make any difference to me. If you enjoy the game, you're not going to care about shit like that, and you're not going to base your decisions based around it. You're going to play what you want to play, whether it's strong, weak, or whatever. If the build works, the build works, you know? It's just whatever you want to do. So I don't really care about stuff like that, but when I get to stuff like this, to where I don't have to sit here and keep checking back and forth and looking at things and checking things, and I just have a pop-up and it's like, hey, this will work, you can do this, you can use this, this works with this. That is such a huge quality of life. Hey Emily, welcome to the chat. Let's see here. Added on the waypoint world map, selecting underground locations feature will now immediately teleport you to the selected location instead of toggling to the underground map view. That's actually like a super good quality of life too. So both of these are actually like crazy good quality of life. Quick search to the stat filters in the trade market. Another huge quality of life. It's the little things that matter the most, I swear. Stackable items will no longer be merged into existing item stacks when control clicking items into the merchant tabs. Wait, I don't like that. I want them to merge. Oh, that's in the merchants tab. Oh, okay. Actually, I agree with that. They never should have been doing that to begin with. We're going over the patch notes for the new Path of Exile 2 league that's gonna come out soon. They just released about 40 minutes ago. We had the whole content release, live reveal, and everything, and now we're going over the patch notes. Optimize item search for in-game market browser. Cool. Current rage is no longer displayed in your buff bar. Instead, there's now a rage meter next to the mana globe. Okay, cool. I like that a lot better too. All of these are like very, very needed changes. Like cursor size options been changed to a slider. New cursor tracking for keyboard and mouse users, which allows skills to continue updating their target location direction even after skills and input key is released. Such skills as like rolling slam. Okay. That's actually going to be a really good quality of life for rolling slam. It's going to remove that like awkward clunkiness on like the direction change. Let's see. Switching between controller and keyboard, the game will remember if you use WASD or not. That's good. I don't really care about that. Refactored couch co-op player interfaces. Most interfaces now be paneled. Okay, I don't do co-op, so it doesn't matter. Microtransactions. Now visually indicates previously wish listed is on sale. Sales update. Enabled the following existing rare finishers. Acer Lightning rare finisher, cool. Anchor Drop, don't have it. Black Hole rare finisher. Black Star Meteor. Consuming Tentacle, cool. Dragonfire, cool. Necrotic Flames. Shark Attack, yay! I'm gonna have to get that one at some point. Soulflight Shatter. Let's see, enabled the existing Cathedral set, Dreadspire. Corsair's been enabled. See, that's what I was hoping for. With the new supporter set being pirate themed, I was hoping they would do like the Corsair set and the God, what's the other one? I can't think off the top of my head. But it was the other one that came out with the Corsair set. Abyss Core. Okay, cool. Siren, cool. Gargoyle, Glimmerwood Hat. So not too many. Astral and Onyx Oblivion weapon effect. Stygian and Ebony character effect, cool. Hummingbird Pet, Gorgon Shield, Celestial Wings, and oh, we're getting the Celestial Wings. Celestial Tree. Dude, I bet Celestial Wings are gonna look good. They're like the most iconic wings in Path of Exile, probably. Like, they're like the OG wings. So I hope they did a really good job and paid them homage and made them look really good. And these are all bug fixes, I don't care. Okay. Well, I think that's enough for the night. It's time to play some games or something. Like, I'm happy. I think it was really good. I think it's overall a huge win. I don't think there's really anything to complain about. My only complaint with the new content is the fact that I think other classes can use the new weapon and then they can shapeshift too. I feel like that should have been tied to ascendancies or something. And I think the Druid should be the only class that has access to alternate forms like that. Like, I don't think they should have given everybody the ability to do that. But their game, they can do whatever they want. But, alright. So that concludes today's live reveal for the Path of Exile Last of the Druids. I appreciate everybody that stopped in. I hope you took something away from the release. Hope there's something in there that benefits your build and what your plans are for the new league. I'm not done for the night. Like I said, I'm gonna go take a break real quick. I gotta grab something to eat. I'll probably be back in like 20 minutes, and then we'll start playing games and stuff for the rest of the night. But yeah, so I appreciate you coming out, checking out the reveal with me, and I can't wait for it to come out. Like, we're gonna be playing Path of Exile 2 pretty hardcore for a while. If you missed it, I just finished the Path of Exile League last night. Took down the last Uber, got the last Void Stone, and finished out everything. So that's out of the way now. I can focus on other games and kind of whatever we want to do. So if anything as a community you guys want to do, I've got so many games. We can do whatever. I mean, I've got literally like all kinds of shit. And same thing in my Epic library. I've got just as much and everything. So we got all kinds of stuff to play. We'll figure something out. We'll have a good time. But yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break. I've been sitting here since like for hours now. I'm gonna go eat dinner. I'll be right back, probably like 20-30 minutes. So catch you guys here in a little bit.